Welcome to Mana's Seal YouTube channel. The previous video link is on the description box or on the top right card. Volume 13, The Paladin of the Holy Kingdom. Ainz nodded as he heard the evil lord's reply. One thing that had made Ainz uneasy in the past was a lack of strong opponents to fight. Ever since the battle with Shaltir, Ainz had been worrying about not having chances to fight with all his strength. After training and gaining experience in close combat, he could skillfully move his body as Manga and fight as a warrior of roughly level 33. However, the question of how he would fare in higher level combat still remained. He should have conducted combat training against high-level opponents. Unfortunately, he had not had the chance to encounter such high-level monsters until now. That was why he had ordered Demiurge to command the summoned evil lord to kill Ainz. He would defeat this powerful foe who wanted to kill him, and thus strengthen himself. That had been easier said than done. The two of them had been strongly opposed to the idea, and persuading them had taken a lot of time. One could not fault a mentally exhausted Ainz from thinking, "I thought we agreed that my word was law." In the end, after countless concessions and conditions, the stage had been set for this life and death battle. A chill coursed through his body as he considered that he might die. It was a completely different sensation from what he had felt during the battle with Shaltir, because this was an unnecessary battle. However, while I had a lot of PvP experience in Yggdrasil, I realized in the battle against Shaltir that this world is not a game. If the time comes when I must face off against a level 100 player with a great deal of real combat experience, I wouldn't be able to win without an equivalent amount of experience. I know that cowardice leads to defeat. Ainz was very glad that he was undead, and could suppress the fear he might have felt at the prospect of death. If he were still human, he would probably have called it off by now. "Now then, Yuri," Ainz said to the maids behind the evil lord. "Since you and Lupusregina are here, does that mean you will be fighting me together with the evil lord? Are the others not here?" He saw no sign of Solution, Intoma, or CZ. They must have been off doing work elsewhere. "We are the only two who have come here. We sisters will challenge you together with the evil lord of wrath. The reason is because Albedo-sama feels that allowing the people of this country to witness the maid demons is not a bad thing. In addition, the evil lord of wrath alone might not be enough to satisfy your request, Ainz-sama." It was true that a single level 80-ish Shiva Lord would be hard-pressed to stand against Ainz. However, even the addition of Yuri and Lupusregina did not make it a very powerful opponent. That said, troublesome factors can become bad news. Suffering because I underestimated my opponent would be foolish. I'd best stay on my guard. In addition, Albedo-sama ordered us to check something with you, Ainz-sama. Are you really alright with the condition that you will not leave Nazarick for the coming year if you are defeated? That was one of the conditions Albedo insisted on before agreeing to this bout. If I lose, I will spend the next year working hard within the great underground tomb of Nazarick, with Albedo, in the same room. Aren't you going to verify the conditions that Demiurge mentioned? Ainz looked at the evil lord, but it said nothing. It probably felt that there was no need to check. "Thank you very much." Yuri bowed. Now there would be no margin for him to change the plan. As he thought of how dire the situation was, Ainz could not help but sweat internally. It would be easy enough to kill Yuri and the others, due to the tremendous disparity in their respective strength, but Ainz Ulgaun would never allow that. Killing an NPC for the sake of training was utterly ridiculous. In other words, I have to kill the evil lord without harming Yuri and Lupusregina. Ainz could not help laughing. This would be one hell of a challenge. Still, they would make for good training. "Is something wrong, Ainz-sama?" "No, it's nothing, don't worry about it. Also, Kasada-sama requested that we record this battle so everyone in Nazarick can learn from it. Do you mind?" Well, he did not want to do so because he felt it was embarrassing. Recording battles was very common in Yggdrasil. With that in mind, he ought to accept that request. Still, recording the battle proceedings will trigger interference from the anti-divination offensive barriers. Shall I lower it? Surely you mean divination detecting spells, do you not, Ainz-sama? And not the linked offensive spell model? Yes, that's the one. After all, if it were the latter, it would be bad if someone from Nazarick were trying to find my position and triggered it. If he deployed the linked offensive spell barrier, as he had used to in the past, any member of Nazarick trying to cast a divination on Ainz would be very badly hurt. Well, he used to cast that spell all the time because friendly fire was off. Doing so now would be dangerous. Of course, the denizens of Nazarick would not be hurt by the offensive barrier, given that they were protected by a world-class item, but the defense would incur cost in gold coins. If things went badly, expenses like that would be more painful for him. Then there's no need to worry, Sue. No, I'd best deactivate it. Besides, offensive barriers disappear once they activate and have to be reset. In that case, I might as well just deactivate it from the start and have some peace of mind. I see, Sue, then I'll leave it to you, Sue. Ainz deactivated his offensive barrier. Alright, then let's begin the combat recording. Whose point of view are you using? I don't mind if it's mine, you know. I think I was supposed to do the recording, Sue. In truth, Ainz was fine with anything. Anyone's perspective would have been alright. In addition, the memories of sparring with his friends were coming back to him, and Ainz began to enjoy himself. Simulated battles with his friends were a fundamental part of devising new techniques and using new equipment. He had often sparred with Touch Me, but those battles did not count and had not been entered in Ainz's PvP record. Since Ainz had never won even once, his win rate would have dropped if they had been recorded. He had never taken it seriously, simply treating it as training, since he knew he could not win. Ainz always emphasized that. Shall we begin, then? You need to prepare yourself to kill me. Of course, I won't kill you. No, actually, it's alright if you kill us. Before Ainz could say that he did not want to do so, Yuri stated the reason. Ainz-sama, we are not the actual members of the Pleiades. All of us are greater doppelgangers. What did you say? We are musicians of the Eric String Orchestra under Chakmul-sama the Five Worsts. By Albedo-sama's order, we have transformed into members of the Pleiades. Is that so? He looked at them several more times, but Ainz could not tell the difference between them and the Yuri and Lupusregina which he knew. He could not help but wonder if this was a lie they were telling, so he could kill them without worries during the fight. Perhaps one of them was fake. He had once heard that the best lies were those that had a little bit of the truth sprinkled into it. Ainz could not see through the doppelganger's disguise. There was a spell that could dispel the doppelganger's shape-shifting, but using that spell would keep them from transforming again for a period of time, due to the spell's effect. In that case, having them transform into the Pleiades would be meaningless. It would be a different matter if Ainz had learned lower-tier spells, but... no. It does seem like Lupusregina is speaking differently from normal. What's going on? Lupusregina's face went blank for a moment. Is that strange, Ainz-sama? The greater doppelganger pretending to be Lupusregina changed its way of speaking. That was probably its usual speech pattern. Those aren't the usual expressions she uses. But Lupusregina-sama always spoke like that in front of us. When a doppelganger impersonated someone, it was more difficult for people closer to the target to see through their disguise. That was because they used a form of telepathy during their shape-shifting to read the surface thoughts of the people they were speaking to, and those around them, in order to extract information related to the target they were impersonating, and then apply it to their impersonation act at least. That was what their entry in the Monster Encyclopedia said. According to Pandora's actor, that ability had become real in this world. However, that was simply to discern the possible reactions that the impersonated subject might have, and it did not read minds or search through memories. In addition, since this ability was a form of psychic attack, it was useless on Ainz and other undead creatures. One could also simply resist it if the level difference was great enough. That was probably why it could not discern Lupusregina's possible reactions from Ainz, and had given the game away. Incidentally, it was more likely that doppelgangers would out themselves when facing multiple people, because each of them would have a different impression of the target. Yumu. Why did Lupu always add a Sue at the end of her sentences in front of them? I see, so it was to make them sound out of place. Perhaps she was trying to help me. What a cute little rascal she is. My apologies. I have another question that is unrelated to combat. Well, Albedo has given you an order. Who would have priority if I were to tell you to abandon that order? Naturally, the words of the Supreme One would have priority, Ainz-sama. However, I must sincerely apologize that we will obey orders from our summoner, Kurayami no Shirub-sama, above all else. Who's that? Was there an NPC like that? As the question grew in his heart, the flames in Ainz's eyes flared as he heard Yuri's answer. That would be Temperance-sama. Temperance-san. Kurayami. Well, that does work as a physical description, but still, Kurayami no Shirub. Yes. Temperance-sama once asked to be addressed that way, so Chakmul-sama instructed us to do so as well. After I return to Nazark, I would like to hear all about this. Kurayami no Shirub, This was the first time he had ever heard him refer to himself that way. Ainz could not help laughing as he learned that a former friend had referred to himself that way in a place where nobody else knew. This was truly a cunning trap, set to decrease his fighting spirit. No. I mustn't fall for Kurayami no Shirub-san's trap. Fu. Though he knew it was not the right time to do so, he recalled the guild member in question. How had he looked and felt when he had given that name? Ainz narrowed his eyes as he reminisced about his friend from the past, and then he saw a surprised look on the face of Yuri as it tilted its head. Ainz sensed that he had become careless and pulled himself together. He could remember his old friends later. Right now, he ought to analyze the doppelganger's words. After this, I'd like to question all the vassals and NPCs about the sides of themselves that they've been hiding. Fufu now then. Another question comes to mind. In the absence of a direct order, vassals like doppelgangers would obey the NPC in charge of them. In that case, what would happen if a certain NPC wanted to kill Ainz and gathered many high-level vassals, and ordered them to attack Ainz with their strongest moves? Of course, this would happen while Ainz was unable to detect or stop them. Would they carry out that order? Or would they disobey it? You're also ready to come at me like you want to kill me, is it? Yes. Those are the orders I have received, and I have determined that I also have your permission, Ainz-sama. Yuri's answer made Ainz wrinkle his non-existent brows. Isn't this dangerous? It's probably best to see exactly where the boundary lies. If even Ainz could think of this, then Albedo had most likely verified it herself. Still, he ought to make sure, just in case. He could not let a hole in security go unpatched. Indeed. I permit you to use your full abilities to kill me in this battle. Then swear on the name of Ainz Ulgaon once more. Can you swear that what you said about your true identities just now was the truth? Yes. This we do swear, upon the names of all the supreme beings. Yuri and Lupusregina transformed their hands into alien-looking objects. Ah. What is it, Yuri? Ainz-sama, there is one thing I forgot. Our equipment was borrowed from the Pleiades. Therefore, can we trouble you to recover them for us if we are killed? Doppelgangers could even copy the clothing and equipment of their targets if they wanted to. However, they could only duplicate appearances, and not the equipment's abilities. Since they would gain no benefits from the gear, when fighting a magic caster like Ainz, the difference between them would be like that between heaven and earth. Therefore, they had no choice but to borrow the real thing from the originals. Greater doppelgangers can imitate people of up to level 60. However, unlike the NPCs, they can only copy up to 90% of the original's abilities. Even if they possess gear from the Pleiades, there's no need to be worried, is there? In that case, killing them would be too much of a waste. After all, they're mercenary vassals, which means summoning them costs money as I thought. I should just leave them powerless. Do I need to put that into the rules after all? Alright. I will add one more rule. Once you greater doppelgangers are near death, you are out. I will monitor your health with life essence. You can hide your HP totals, right? After Yuri replied in the affirmative, Ainz nodded. Then suppress that ability for a while. If I judge that you'll die after a light hit, I will call your name and rule you out. In that case, you will count as dead. Leave the battle area immediately. In addition, the same thing applies to the evil Lord of Wrath. If I declare victory, the combat will end. Do you understand? The evil Lord of Wrath and the two doppelgangers indicated that they understood.